Hello, so just hopefully a quick little video here, and I'm hoping actually you watching at home, you might be able to give me a little bit of advice. So what I have here is using Pedal Playground, which is actually a really cool little website for just designing pedal boards. I have a picture of what my pedal board currently looks like up top, and what I'm hoping for it to look like at the bottom. I know what you're thinking, why did you buy a board so large here? I bought the board with the goal of like all the pedals I wanted to have in mind first, so I didn't have to buy loads of different boards, as I got more and more pedals. And for ages, it's been using a Dunlop DC Brick, I think it is, which has 3 18-volt outputs and about 6 or 7 9-volt outputs, and it's served me just fine so far, and with the pedals I was getting and was planning to get at the time, that power supply would have completely suited me. However, things have changed. This pedal board now below is the one I'm hoping to get. A couple of minor differences in what I'm actually going to be getting is I haven't decided which fuzz face mini I want to replace my larger fuzz face with first, and this isn't going to be a looper, this is just to represent a foot switch to go along with the Line 6 HX Stomp. And I've realised that this current power supply just isn't really going to cut it, so I'm in the market for a new one. And I've been looking at lots and lots and lots, and it's a bit of a weird and confusing topic, so let's have a look at what I've been looking at, and maybe you can give me a hand. So firstly, I went over to Dunlop, because obviously I'd used the DC Brick before by them, and it's always worked really, really well. And so I thought I'd maybe see if they had anything bigger. And no, they haven't really gotten anything bigger. I think they had a whole thing with, is it custom audio electronics? And they'd had like a much larger one with them, but I think they're not making that anymore, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get my hands on it. So I thought I'd look at a couple of other companies. And this was the first power supply I came to, the Voodoo Labs Pedal Power Mondo. And boy, does it have enough outputs. Without just going to that previous picture there, I'm going to need 11 outputs, and they need to all be 9-volt. And this has a couple of 12-volt ones as well, but you can change in between them, and I thought this was perfect. It's a bit on the costly side, but to get a power supply this size, you're going to have to spend a bit of money, unfortunately. I like the fact that it has a fan to keep itself cool. Everything looks really, really, really good. Fortunately, I then realised that one of the pedals I was looking at before, I think it was specifically the Moore Ocean Machine delay, actually requires 500 milliamps of power going into it. Whereas I think the highest that the Voodoo Lab Pedal Power Mondo can do is 400 milliamps for a single 9-volt socket. So unfortunately, I feel like unless there's something I'm missing in this all and I'm reading this wrong, I feel like this pedal supply was out. So I thought I'd go and look at a couple of other ones. And this led me to this one, the Chocs Chocolate. And oh good lord, look at that power supply. This looks like the ultimate power supply to me. It's got the voltage, it's got the amount of outputs, it's got a lot of adjustability, and most importantly has the milliamps. It's incredibly robust. Big downside of it is that it's very, very expensive. So this is if I have to drop the money on it, I will absolutely get it. But I thought, let's have a look at a couple of other things and see if I can get a little bit of a better deal. And so the next power supply I found was one by Moore, obviously the same people that make the Ocean Machine. And here's another power supply with 12 isolated outputs, all 9-volt DC, and we've got a couple that are 500 milliamps there, so this should be able to, fingers crossed, power everything just fine. And it's significantly cheaper actually, but there's one kind of downside to it, is the fact that I know that obviously I'm going to be getting a Ocean Machine, and I've not heard really many bad things about the quality of Moore, but the fact that it's made in China and that the prices are much lower does potentially bring up a couple of red flags. Maybe I'm completely missing it, and maybe this is perfect. I thought I'd just do a video on it first so that anyone who's had experience with this can say, oh no, it is great, go for it. Or maybe think, maybe you shouldn't. And I think the philosophy behind pedal boards is incredibly similar to the philosophy behind building PCs, in which you really don't want to cheap out on a power supply. So is this a little cheap bargain, or is it something I should kind of avoid? And that brought me on to the Excel, and this is a little bit more expensive still, but not hugely more expensive. And I actually saw this on Instagram. Never heard of this company before, and this looks like it could do everything, but I don't know a huge amount about it. Just like the Moore, it's a lot cheaper than the Chocolate. Is this one worth going for? Has anyone ever used this before? Let me know what you think. And just while we're on the subject of the cheaper ones, there is this one by Harley Benton, and this one I am very, very skeptical of. Once again, it seems to be one of those things where if it was all written down on paper, I think it would be fine. It's just, I feel like, Harley Benton are good for having guitars, and I think they're impressing everyone right now. Once again, like I said, for the sake of a power supply, for the sake of something which, if it goes wrong, could cause failure in, like, the pedals, for example, I'm leaning towards maybe that I'd trust the Moore more. But is this good? Should you use a Harley Benton power supply for lots of pedals, or for something that's going to be running, with this much electricity, should I be using something a little bit more expensive? Now, this one I just noticed today. In almost all the guitar shops I've been in, I've seen these by True Tone, and I've never seen one that has this many outputs. So, yeah, this one looks quite good, actually. Once again, if you have experience using it, please let me know. And then there's something else which I think if you've thought of it before, you'd be probably saying this whole video, Adam, why aren't you thinking about doing something like this? But you can actually sort of daisy chain, not actually daisy chaining the pedals, because I know you can do that as well, but I kind of don't really want to. I'd rather have, the cleanest power going to every single pedal rather than having, have them daisy chaining and sharing sockets. But then I think Strymon's not the only company that does this with their power supplies, but with Strymons power supplies, for example, you can actually daisy chain the power supplies themselves, and as far as I know, they're not sharing any more current, as in it's one plug to the wall, and then I imagine it would just suck more power to get to like multiple different power supplies, and this way you can expand and make it exactly what you want to be. But I'm not so sure. What are your experiences using this? Have you used this like this before? Have you known people who use it? What do you think? Because right now I'm thinking, look at something like this, bite the bullet and go for the chocolate, or go for one of the more interesting, different ones in between. Yeah, here are all the pedals I'll be looking at getting. It's a Crybaby from Hell, which I've already got, like you see, all the ones in here I've already got. It's a Dunlop Crybaby from Hell, a Fast-Face Mini, a Boss Acoustic Simulator, a Digitech Whammy, Korg Pitchback Tuner, Boss Flanger, that's a MXR Black Label Chorus, they didn't actually have it on here, so I had to like enter it myself. You've got a MXR Carbon Copy, a Moore Ocean Machine, a Line 6 HX Stomp, and a MXR SmartGate. Which power supply would you use to try and power all of these pedals? And, like I said, I want it to be the cleanest power possible, have easily enough amps to back everything up, I don't want the chance of anything overloading, good build quality. Yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you've used, and if you have any recommendations, please let me know in the comment box below. And if you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.